Not much.
Where was this?
Welcome to the internet, my friend. How can I help you?
We're online.
A little island in the middle of
All systems go!
And in your face.
Bellevue.
very, very close. Right across the bridge.
You are listening to the golden microphones of the IMC Radio. News, opinions, and your calls.
You gotta go.
Well, welcome back to Sun and Fun 2013. This is your guest host, your host Howie Marlin from the golden microphones of the IMC Radio, the new EAA IMC Radio from Sun and Fun 2016. And we were blessed this morning with a nice car wash, a plane wash, courtesy of the good Lord above, who put a nice sheen on everybody's aircraft, took all the dust out of the air, and created a really nice, phenomenally comfortable, sunny, beautiful day here in Florida. So welcome back, everybody. This is Thursday. This is episode Charlie of our broadcast. And we are joined here with John Roberts. Radek Vizikowski is on his way. He's just coming back from a lecture. But we have three guests with us this afternoon. We have from Seattle Avionics, Steve Podrachik. And we'll be talking to Steve about FlyQ, and we'll be getting all the groovy insight about that. And I met a delightful young lady, Lauren Thompson, last night.
Brown.
I'm sorry?
Brown.
Lauren Brown. Oh, there's two Laurens on here. Well, I didn't meet Lauren Thompson last night, but I met you, and you're... She'll be here Saturday. By the way, this is yours. You can hold that to your mouth. And this is yours. Why don't you hold that?
Okay.
And if you'll give that to him, I think you guys will share that, and you can hold on to that. Now, you'll be passing it back and forth. And we also have David Bunin. Thank you. David Bunin from NavWorks. And we'll be talking about NavWorks in a few minutes as well. So, first thing, Johnny Boy, how's the IMC EAA Club being received here at Sun and Fun?
Oh, it's going great. This is the first time that IMC is now part of EAA. And we're having fun telling people about it. I love it. I was kind of helped get it started with Radek 4 or 5 years ago.
You're a founding father.
I am a founding father. I'm hoping to get my face on Mount Rushmore someday, but I don't think so. No, Radek's the real brains behind it. But it's going great, and it's my first time Sun and Fun. The weather's been beautiful. I know everyone says Sun and Fun can be pretty hot. And I'm loving it. But it's going great, Howie. It's really
well,
going
it may get warm, but I'll tell you, darling, you look marvelous in that EAA shirt. Simply marvelous, because we got purchased by the EAA in November.
Yeah.
To give a little bit of recognition, a little perk to you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Because you created a program which
That's
is
right.
based on pilot proficiency.
Yes, we did.
Helping instrument-rated pilots to stay sharp.
That's right.
EAA grew so enamored with it that they ended up not only adopting this for the way it is, but also creating the VMC version of the
that's
IMC
coming.
Club.
That's coming soon.
And so, look who just meandered in from the lecture. Hey, Rad. By the way, the cameras are live on both sides here. And so, no, don't worry about it. We'll want you to step over there when it's time for you to chat, but you can come and go as you wish.
Yeah, we have a full team here today.
Actually, matter of fact, come on up and get next to
share the
John.
mic with
I just
me.
want to introduce you to everybody.
Okay.
So, Radek, grab your microphone. Say hello.
I'm Lauren Brown.
Lauren, Radek.
Nice to meet you.
Same.
David Bunin.
Hello, David.
Hi, I'm Steve Podrachik.
Hello, Steve.
Nice to meet you.
You know, I left two mics in the case going, I'm never going to need them. Okay.
We'll make it work.
Well, we will make it work, and that's just fine. Glad you were able to make it. And you, too, look marvelous in that shirt. I'll tell you, the EA thing, darling,
yep.
Let me tell you, it's really...
Just had a great presentation there.
Really, that's wonderful.
Yeah, standing room.
Standing room only.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
nice.
I'm not surprised. I was just exalting the virtues of the fact that the organization exists, the way it was received. You went from zero to hero in how many years? 3 years?
5 years.
5 years. Okay. Well, excuse me. I've only been
Actually,
involved.
it's 5.5 now. I keep saying 5 years. I keep forgetting that time is still, moving more.
It's okay. Optimistic rounding.
It
That's
is,
okay.
and the nice thing is, you want that 2 inches from your mouth. The nice thing is, you've done so well. EAA recognized it, and then now we're doing the VMC version of it.
We're working on it.
Working
Yes,
on
we're going to make an announcement in Oshkosh. So I'm going to give Mike back to John because that's his turn today.
Give Mike
and
to John.
I refuse to
Step on his toes.
sing, duo with him because of the proximity of the microphone. to be too close. So
By the way, it's
Thank you,
incredible
Radek.
having
Thank
these
you,
guys
Radek.
together. We do it by Skype all the time. So he's down in Florida. He's out in Rochester or wherever, the Albany.
He's
or
in
where are
Albany.
you?
I'm in Delray Beach, and you're in Martha's
Yeah,
Vineyard.
I'm up in New England. Oh,
and
yeah.
actually, I'm going to grab that mic for a second because I gotta talk to you, Hal. Just 30 seconds.
Yeah.
First of all, my name is Radek, not Rad, because you started this Rad thing, and there is an article, very nice article about IMC Club in sport aviation.
Oh, no, and it was quoted as rad?
And Mac McClellan, who wrote that article, he says in a text that Radek Wyrzykowski, who likes to be called Rad. And it's not true. I want to
I
state
had
it for the
nothing to
record.
do with that. I had nothing to do with that.
And if that happens again, I'm going to call you Hal. Okay, back to John.
Call me anything you want except late for dinner, but that... Okay,
Yeah. All right.
okay. Let's just say, all right.
So Howie's on fire here, ladies and gentlemen.
Touchy. Well, we'll be talking to Radek Wyrzykowski later.
You know, as an outsider here, I love the fact that you guys don't get along at all, and you know, this is great.
Well, it is wonderful having these guys, and it's so flexible in the growth of that organization, and the focus is on safety. And one of the innovations over the last dozen or so years has been the flat panel technology, which has been available to everybody because of the pads. And that's why you're here. So, Steve, just drop right in. Give
Sure.
me the elevator speech and launch into any of the specifics.
Sure. So Seattle Avionics has been around for about 15 years or so. We've been at Sun and Fun more times than I probably care to mention. And we began doing Windows products, but we then, when the iPad came along, we were like, well, it's pretty easy to see the writing on the wall. People like their iPads. So we got into the iPad business, and today our product, FlyQ EFB, is by sales the number 2 bestseller in the category, and by customer reviews, it's the number 1 highest rated app. And the reason why it's highest rated is because people just think it's easier to use.
So tell me, how is it easier to use? And we talked about this a little bit
Yeah.
before, so
Yeah.
launch right in.
Well, every piece of software is designed by a human being. It's not by a computer. And human beings have an outlook on life. They have a philosophy. And the philosophy that we have is that you ought to be flying the plane, not flying the iPad. When we watch a lot of people, especially a lot of young guys or older folks who may not be familiar with technology, they're looking at the iPad, hitting little buttons, trying to put on reading glasses to look at text. They're not flying the plane. They are literally flying the iPad. And we don't think that's safe. So we designed that with something that we call the rule of 2, which means it should never take more than 2 taps to get to anything that you really need while you're flying. Because then you're spending too much time looking down, not looking out.
Well, I can tell you because I use the pad over in the other yoke. And, of course, I don't mind having to deal with the going back and forth. But in any turbulence,
Yep.
the first bump, my wife turns to me and says, "Can we land now?"
Exactly.
And here I am trying to get a thumb hold.
Right.
But the point is, you've overcome that. Point out a couple of the major features which separate your products from the others.
Sure. When it really comes down to it, most of the other products in the category and FlyQ have very comparable features. There are not a lot of differences there, really. We talked to 20 different ADS-B receivers. Some of the products only talk to a couple of them. But for the most part, a lot of the technology is the same. It's how you do it. It's the how. It isn't so much the what. So as an example, let's say that you want to look up AirMets and SIGMETs, for example. We have a graphical display of AirMets and SIGMETs that overlays all of them. When you look at them all overlaid, it's just a big jumble of mess. You can't really make any sense of it. When you tap on it, we show you a graphical representation in 2D showing you where your airplane is relative to all the different other little stacks. And it's really obvious visually to see where you need to worry about an AirMet and SIGMET and where it's either too high or too low for you to worry about. Or as another one, a lot of software is designed by younger guys, right? I mean, it makes sense. So they're in their 20s and they don't have reading glasses, right? I have reading glasses, okay? So what that means is that we try to make the text on an iPad mini actually readable to guys our age. So, for example, when you read a METAR or a TAF on FlyQ EFB, if it's too small, you just tap on it and it becomes like 97-point font that anybody can read. Okay, those are just the little kind of things that kind of go into the way that we look at the world. It isn't so much about what we can do, but how to make it easier for the pilot so they're not looking at the silly iPad,
Well, you've certainly come up with innovative improvements. The flat screen platform has been improving faster than we can adapt to. You've got a couple of interesting things. One of the things I like about your software is the arrow of wind direction.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I'm going to tell you, it's funny in talking with some other folks who have been really very accomplished.
Yeah.
They laugh and say how valuable it is because you get overloaded with technology,
Right.
and it's information management and reducing the amount of information that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
It really it becomes something that I refer to as exception management. You're going to set your field of view, your vision, your scan for what you expect
Right.
at different parameters, and then when you go outside of those parameters, you want to be alerted.
Right.
There was there's something else about your software that I'm having a blank right now, but it's great that you've overcome I like the 2-tap, the rule of
Thank you. Rule of two.
Rule of two.
Yep. TM.
Which
Yeah.
really you can't lose that. You can't beat that because I'm sure everybody I've been in an aircraft with a flat screen touch,
Right.
and we're bouncing around. It's
They got their head down.
Yeah.
It sounds like you just stepped back and took a simple approach to it, which
It is.
which is
Th-
nice.
th- that's
'Cause
it.
The technology is amazing.
It is.
But they
It-
can make it so crazy that they should make. Talk about making it user friendly. If there's any place that needs to be user friendly, it's an airplane.
Absolutely, because
Yeah.
computer programmers tend to think very logically and methodically, but not all pilots. In fact, most pilots aren't computer programmers. They're doctors, dentists, lawyers. Just normal, ordinary human beings. So you have to focus on, like another example. Every iPad product that I can think of shows you airport information with runways and nav aids and frequencies and things like that. And almost all of them that I can think of, you pull up the airport, then you hit a button for comm. You hit another button for runways. You hit another button for TAF, another button for METARs. We don't do that. We have one screen that shows you the runways, it shows you the nav aids, and it shows you the comm. And instead of hitting little buttons, which is really hard to do when you're flying, flicking your finger up and down to just scroll through a list is super easy to do. So by replacing little taps with swipes, life became easy. Little things like that.
Lauren Brown, you've been chomping at the bit. You've got.
I'm listening.
I know, but last night when we met, I got a little blown away at your depth of experience. How many hours do you have?
I'm still in the 300s, so I'm working on more.
Okay, but the point is you're very experienced, and you come from a family of
Well-versed,
aviators.
I try. Yep, I am third-generation pilot. Grandpa, flew in World War II on D-Day and so forth, and uncles, and dad are with airlines.
Now, that was the combined experience, and although the total number of booked hours, that's not the point I was trying to make. The family experience, the
Right.
hangar, flying, the talking
warbirds,
with Grandpa,
the air shows.
and
I like it all the different aspects. I'm with a simulator company, as my day job, which I do love. I get to, learn about all these new avionics that are coming out, tying into iPads, which we're going to have to talk about, and all of those things. But I also still love the tradition, the keeping the warbirds flying is really important to me, and I think that's something that gets overlooked when we're talking about inspiring the next generation of aviators. Is what about the old airplanes and where we started and where we came from, and keeping those flying. And it's not always just about what glass cockpit do I have next and how's it going to fly itself. We're losing that a
mixing
little.
these two, and David will put you into the mix. One of the things that caught my attention in 2011 when I walked around here first was all the gray-haired old men, and there weren't any kids.
Yeah.
And that's changing. And the fact that we have this phenomenal growth now, we've been seeing kids, we've been seeing young ladies. Now, I'm with the Institute for Women of Aviation Worldwide. The whole idea is to inspire young ladies to look to aerospace technology. Of course, we want pilots, but we need everybody and everything.
Yeah.
And then meeting you and hearing your background, you are the perfect spokesperson because family-based, motivated through your internal love for it, and you put it all together.
Yep.
What's your experience with flat panels?
If I could afford one in my airplane, then sure, I would probably upgrade. I'm still on the steam gauges, and
You use an iPad on board
I
as
do
well?
use an iPad. I was going to say
Okay.
I'm a big fan of the iPad. I mean, it's so capable, and whatever app everybody's using, I think it's great to hear that we're still trying to become more user friendly.
Absolutely.
That's obviously important, especially again, stepping back from the automation, focusing on looking outside and supplementing with all the
Right.
glass that we have, and that sounds like exactly what you're
Yeah,
doing.
the iPad's not a primary flight instrument.
Right.
It shouldn't be. So.
Agreed.
Well, now it's becoming, whether it be
Yeah.
the iPad or another flat panel.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said for the technology of the Apple products, but then the truth is, we kind of buy into a system.
Yeah.
But I want to stop everything. I have to move, because it's funny. We're talking technology with you folks over here, and David, forgive me, we'll get with you in NavWorks in a moment. But all of a sudden, John Roberts jumps up and runs away, and Radek gets up and he runs over to these people and all these hugs and kisses, and then we're in the middle of a show. I go, what can be so important that in the middle of it, what's going on? Who is this guy? Would you hand him that mic? Hi, who are you?
Well, I've never been made to feel so important, so I want to thank you for recognizing me. Radek and I and John and a few other people are the founding fathers of the IMC Club, which is now folded into EAA, and Radek runs the Instrument Proficiency
I'm
Center.
bowing. I'm not worthy.
Thank you very
I'm
much.
not
You
worthy.
You may arise. Thank you. I appreciate
Thank
your recognition. And I'm here hopefully every year, and as well as Oshkosh, just to see how EAA is doing and to meet some old friends and to talk about everything relating to airplanes. And
wow. Well, Peter, you made a new friend here. Hi, Howie Marlin. Nice to meet
Howie,
you. This is the first time I've met the man.
Pleasure is mine.
Oh, it's nice to meet you, and thanks for stopping by. You just happened to catch us. You know, we're on live 1 to 2 up until Saturday, the end of Saturday, not
Very
Sunday.
good. Very good.
But I really appreciate everything that you've done.
Oh, well, sure. Well, it was fun. I mean, John and Radek and I are the founding members because we went to lunch together at the restaurant adjacent to the FBO at Norwood, Massachusetts, where the IMC Club began. And before being folded into the EAA, I think we had something like 70 chapters nationally and 5 or 6 chapters internationally. And it all started from Radek's idea as to how do you take advantage of all the experience that people have. Once they have their instrument rating, they go off and they do whatever they do. And they get scared and they make mistakes or they have successes, and there's no forum, there's no venue for sharing that information. So that's what the IMC Club is. It's hangar flying. It's sitting around now
But
with
in 5 years,
scenarios.
since the first time you came up with the idea, you went from 3 guys getting drunk,
well,
4 guys, or 4 people, I don't
pleasantly
even know.
inebriated.
No, and Ken, oh, no kidding, to the EAA adopting the philosophy and now doing VMC. David, how long have you been flying?
Since I was old enough to drive myself to the airport.
and this is, we're talking with, I'm sorry, I just had to flip his card over, David Brunin. Brunin from NavWorks. And so what's your experience and how did NavWorks get created?
Okay, so my experience, I went through the maintenance side of it. So I, like a lot of kids, I built and flew and crashed my first model at age 13.
Attaboy.
And started taking real flight lessons when I was 16, and like I said, could drive myself to the airport. And then I came to a point where I had to decide where my career was going to be, and I'm a mechanical kind of guy, so I decided to go the maintenance route. I figured I could be a mechanic all week and still be a pilot on the weekends, and the other way around, you kind of can't do that. So I went to Embry-Riddle, and I'm an A&P mechanic.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
And avionics technician. And then when I graduated, a buddy of mine who'd been through the flight program and was an instructor, together we bought out a flight school. So I've been a flight school owner. And
by the way, you want to put the mic a little closer.
I'm sorry.
No, that's good.
So I've owned a flight school. I was the maintenance department. My buddy was the flight department. We had a lot of fun, lost all our money. And so I worked at King Radio for a little while. I actually had 2 jobs. I made money at one and lost it at the other. And so I've always made money in the avionics side of it and kind of lost money being a mechanic, which is fine with me. And it's been a wonderful career. My wife works for NavWorks, and I'm a consultant for them. And so NavWorks builds ADSB products. This is the brainchild.
Let's talk about that. Launch right in. Thanks.
Bill Moffett and Karen, and they are the heartbeat of NavWorks. They invented the product that we're selling, and it is a UAT, a Universal Access Transceiver. They've got 2 product lines, one for the experimental aircraft, one for the certified aircraft, and our goal is to be the low-cost solution. And we interface with installed displays. We have a Wi-Fi interface for apps. FlyQFB is one of the great apps that we work with.
Thank you.
Probably one of the best interfaces we've got is with yours.
Lauren, pay attention.
We appreciate that.
Probably one of the most.
I'm paying attention.
Yeah, this is.
I'm an aircraft owner.
You guys
too,
really do make
so-
good stuff.
Jump and grab.
And
Yeah.
I've never met anyone who knows ADSB more than Bill.
Yes.
He's like scary smart on this
Yes,
stuff.
yes. Yeah, Bill, nobody that's worked with Bill forgets that experience.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've This is my first time actually being at Sun and Fun. It's an honor. I'm thrilled to be here. If I'm kind of hesitating a little bit, it's because I'm
you're doing great.
out of my depth. But that's okay.
It's exciting.
It's great to be here. I've got a Cessna 172, and of course I have the NavWorks product installed.
Of course.
And it does link to my iPad, although I don't know if I'm in the majority or minority. I use the iPad the way that I used the map that I had before. I'll take it out, I'll look at it, I'll put it back in the map pocket. I've got a GPS in the panel, and that's what I'm looking at. I'm flying the real airplane.
To be honest, it's actually not uncommon at all. A lot of guys use it for maps, airport information, and approach plates. And I don't think that's a bad idea. Again, it's not a primary flight instrument.
Right.
It's not supposed to be.
It's a fantastic flight planning tool.
Yeah.
Especially when you're on the road.
Yep.
No, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because those of us with Steam that want to get oriented to flat panel, that's the way in, but not to be dependent on it.
Yeah.
I can tell you I'm not dependent on it because I have a 40-year-old Morrow GPS slave to my autopilot. It's non-updatable, and I can't use it, but Boston hasn't moved. I plug in Boston, and, the plane goes to Boston.
Right.
That's right.
Dallas is right where we left
I
it.
don't even have a GPS.
Yep.
You don't? What do you fly?
172. Well,
And you
that's
don't
what
have
I own. I'll fly whatever I can.
Okay.
Cool.
And what model is it?
November, 1978.
And
November.
you don't have a GPS in it.
No.
No, actually, I learned how to fly on an M model 172.
We're close.
It's even older. Yep.
I
There are
would
these
like
things
one,
we
but
call VOR things.
unfortunately, yes.
And
I
you got
do have a DME, so.
you got a DME.
Fantastic.
That was the
Oh, yeah.
upgrade.
21st
yeah.
century.
I was
Yep.
just telling someone this. So I've got an XP, which is a 77 model, equivalent to the N model, a little bit more engine. And I was telling someone this morning that until last year, my airplane had the best avionics you could get in 1981.
Pretty much right there with you.
And
So-
mine's the best is 64.
There you go.
That's right.
It's all steam. And Lorenz.
Ooh.
I got
I
Lorenz,
had-
baby.
Oh, yeah.
I fly
had-
with the Coast Guard. We got Lorenz.
I had
Go
an
figure.
RNAV computer that could do 2 waypoints.
Whoa. Now, keep in mind, that same computer put men on the moon.
What was it like when
It
you started?
absolutely
So,
did.
not so bad.
Well,
Absolutely.
let's see. I started flying in 1979 in a Tomahawk, and my first airplane that I bought was an Archer, 180 horsepower, fixed gear, 4-seat
Yep.
Piper, and then I moved up to a V-tail Bonanza, which was amazing.
When did you buy that?
The Bonanza, let me think. I bought that in 86. And then I sold that and bought an A36 Bonanza, which is the bigger, stretched version with 6 seats. Then I was in a club that owned a Cherokee 6, an old 1969 Cherokee 6 with the Hershey bar wing. And most recently, I have bought a plane that I bet nobody here has heard of. It was made in England in 1969. The plane is known as a Beagle. It's a twin-engine B-206. It's known as a Bassett. The Beagle Corporation was supposed to sell a lot of these to the Royal Air Force, and the order never came through.
I
They're
have seen one of
overbuilt,
those.
They're slow.
Really? Yep.
But the corporation made the Bassett, they made the Bulldog, they made the Pup, they made the Airedale.
I like the
And this
naming
is the-
convention.
This is the twin-engine version, which has a geared, turbocharged Continental 520 with 340 horsepower per side.
Damn.
It's a beast.
Damn.
It won't ever win any efficiency awards, but it's got lots of carrying capability, and it's so strong. It's built like
What's
a
your
bridge.
useful load? 3 tons?
With full fuel, the useful load is about 850 pounds, but
Whoa.
it carries 228 gallons, 114 per side, with 6-hour range.
Wow.
So I mean, you can offload fuel and make the trade-off. There is on a twin something called a zero fuel weight, which I
Yeah.
wasn't familiar with.
Yep.
Which is the gross weight of the plane is 7,500 pounds, more than twice what the
Wow.
A36 had. And the last 500 pounds of that weight must be in the wings as fuel. You can't offload fuel and say, well, I'll put another 300 pounds in the plane, because the stability and actually the inertia that the fuel in the wings provides is part of the whole structural continuity of the airplane. So anyway, I just
But you can fly to
finished my-
France.
well, I have actually in a Cherokee 6 flown the Atlantic once from Maine to Greenland to Iceland to Norway.
The plane I fly
Wow.
did that. Not with me in it.
And what do you fly?
No, it's a Cherokee 180.
Okay.
but he put extra tanks in the back.
Absolutely.
Went to Iceland, went to Greenland, Iceland, went over to Scotland.
Yeah.
Learned how to speak Scottish, turned around, came back.
For me. Coming in September into the Greenland airport.
Exactly. Got some haggis.
Skirting
By the way,
icebergs
when you guys go to Reykjavik, you should know that in Reykjavik there's a little flight school which will rent you a 172 for like $1.50 an hour.
Wow.
No, it's real, and I was like, oh my god. We stayed for a few days, and I went down to Reykjavik. I went to the flight school, of course,
Right.
being a pilot. And I had jokingly laughed. I said, it's too bad you don't run any planes. He goes, but we do. I said, how much? I'm sure I can't afford it. And he goes, it's $150 an hour, wet.
Can't beat
Wow.
that.
Yeah, well,
Wet
my
rate.
wife wanted to divorce me, so...
He was talking about trade-offs, and Bill Moffat came out. We were all out of Dallas. Came out here in his Diamond, right? And I'm in the 172, and he's like, "Well, what time are you leaving?" Oh, yeah. He says he's going to sleep in. He's going to leave later, and he's still going to get there sooner. But somehow he kept asking me to put another box of brochures in my trucky little Cessna. He's like, "Can you take another box?" Yeah, I got another 150 pounds. Bring it on.
Right. Well, I have two stories about Iceland very quickly. The only place we picked up any ice on our trip across the Atlantic was in Iceland. Figured that out. We got up to, I think, 7,000 feet in the clouds, and we noticed that the airspeed was decaying and decaying. We pulled back a little bit. There was no climb. Pulled back a little bit of a rumble. Might be the pre-stall above it. The other thing is we stayed at a guest house before we left the following morning, and the owner of the guest house came over to myself and our other pilot, and he said, I always give people who are flying the Atlantic shark liver pills. And I said, it's like cod liver? And he said, yeah, it's sort of similar. I said, well, thank you very much. I take this pill. And I said, what's the purpose? He said, well, it is said that sharks will not eat other sharks. So if you go down, you have the shark liver pill.
So is that pessimism or just planning ahead? I don't know.
It's like lawyers won't eat
flown over
sharks won't eat
water,
lawyers because of professional
Just
courtesy.
over the Gulf and things like that. I'd love to do that trip. I mean, gosh, that's amazing. But I will be flying along cross country here soon.
Where are you going?
Well, I'm participating in an air race, the Women's Air Race Classic. Will be my first time participating, and we're planning on taking my airplane. So
How can we
All
find
right.
information about you?
I did make a website for our team, airracegirls.com. We're on Facebook, Air Race Girls, and that's our team, Team 46 at the Air Race Classic. And I mean, it's 3 Central Florida girls. We're all young women pilots. One of them just got her instrument. Myself, I'm commercial instrument, and then one's a CFI. So a little mix of experience and everything. But the race itself starts in Prescott, Arizona, goes up through Illinois, and back down and ends in Daytona Beach. So we'll have to make it over there and then back over. Yeah.
There isn't a pilot listening to you that isn't saying, wow.
I'm excited, and it's
That's
a totally
awesome.
different type of flying. It actually adds a competitive planning aspect to it, and I think it'll be a great way to get some information out there about flying, stopping at all these little FBOs and colleges and cities all across the country, and now with the internet we're covered worldwide basically. So
You got your live blogging going and things like that.
we'll be doing all that good stuff, and we're looking for donations and sponsors. So
Awesome.
let me know if anybody wants to help.
What do you have on board for weather and traffic information?
Currently, we'll be using probably the iPad, and we'll borrow a Stratus. I don't have an ADS-B solution yet or anything, so we'll do that. But that's the current plan, and. Like I said, no glass in there, but the iPads, and we're big proponents of doing so.
So if people want to get in touch with you, if they want to back you, support you, encourage you, where can they reach you?
Best way to get a hold of me is through the website, airracegirls.com. Any of the forms you fill out on there, or anything, all goes to me.
Airracegirls.com, one word. Airracegirls.
All one word, S at the end, and like I said, all of that comes to me. You can ask me questions. I'll give you my phone number. I don't care. I'd love to talk to anybody about it, and
Well,
thank
I
you.
appreciate it very much, and I appreciate the fact your husband flies DC-3s.
Yes.
And had a great time with him last night. Really, Lauren Brown, thank you very much for coming by.
Thank you so much
Truly
for having
appreciate
me,
that. And I see that Peter's on his way out. Peter, again, Peter Conant. I mispronounce everybody's name.
Oh, hey, well, everybody.
Thank you very much for coming by.
Well, it's been a pleasure. It's been fun. It's always nice to talk to other pilots. I always learn something about air racing.
Always learning.
About ADS.
Always learning. Lauren, thank you again. Truly appreciate it. You can bolt out of here. We got some kids coming up behind you. And thank you very much, Peter.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Want to
Nice
wrap
meeting you.
up, David? You have little more to tell. You have some more to tell me about NavWorks.
All right. So NavWorks, our certified product is the ADS 600B, and our experimental product is the ADS 600 EXP. If you want to, I'm going to get the website out there. It is navworks.com with an X, NavWorks. And I'm going to share just a quick story. Someone asked me earlier, what is ADS-B good for? And so after I put the equipment in my airplane, my wife and I, we went out to Phoenix for holidays, came back, landed in Deming for fuel. So we're on our way from Deming back to Dallas. And it takes a while to get to altitude in the 172. So I was going to wait to get flight following until I got to altitude.
Yeah.
And we're climbing out of Deming. We're climbing through about 13,000. And I just happened to have the radio tuned to center frequency because my equipment
You got to 13,000 in a 172?
I cruised at I cruised at 17.5.
What?
It's a Hawk XP. It's got a little more something under the hood.
Holy cow.
Okay, yeah.
But anyway, so this is good. Feeds into the story. So we're taking off. We're climbing out. And I've got center frequency tuned up, and we're listening, but we're not under contact yet. And out of the blue, radio comes up, and it says, 90927 Victor, Albuquerque Center, are you on this frequency? And I look at my wife, and we look at each other, and I'm like, did that just happen? And she's like, no, it couldn't be. So yeah, so all right, we forget it, couldn't be.
Right.
So we're flying along, and a few minutes later, it's 90927 Victor, Albuquerque Center, are you on this frequency? And I key the mic, and I'm like, yeah. And he said, am I offering you services? And I said, well, I was going to call you later on for flight following, but yeah, if you're ready now, yeah. And he says, well, I've identified you based on your ADS-B equipment, and I have the capacity, and go ahead and give me your type and cruise altitude. And
wow.
So I said, yeah, it's a 172. I'm going to 17.5. And he goes, say again your type? And say again your cruise altitude? And we did. We made it up to 17.5. We had a horrendous tailwind. It was fantastic. We were on oxygen up there, and cruised right along.
Turbo?
No, it's a Hawk XP.
Oh,
So
a Hawk XP.
No, I
It's
never
a
heard
high
of this.
performance 172.
Okay, but it's not a turbo, but it's a hot.
It's
a high
not turbo.
performance.
It's the same engine that's in the Skymaster. It's a Continental IO 360.
Gotcha.
Fuel
Wow.
injected, Califlaps, constant speed prop. You're not making a lot of horsepower up there, but there's not as much drag.
Right.
So,
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
fully a third of our ground speed was tailwind at that point.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
How long did it take to get to 17?
All day. No, it was about an hour. About an hour to get up there.
What
Less
does it
than
look like
Wow.
from up there? It's a whole different sight
It's
picture, huh?
cold. It's very cold.
Yeah.
But no, it's fine. I mean, it was great because it was right after Christmas, and they just had the blizzard that went all across Texas, and so we made it
pretty.
in a 172. We made it from Deming all the way to Dallas. We went over all of the bad weather.
Wow.
Holy cow.
Actually, did get to shoot an approach to get back into Dallas.
Did I miss
which
the
is-
oxygen part? What were you?
We were on oxygen. Yeah, I've got an oxygen bottle, and we were both on
Your
the nose
grandmother's
hose.
oxygen thing. The oxygen generator?
The nose.
No,
hose.
it's the guys.
That's
I think
right.
they're in Hangar B. As a matter of fact.
I was up here visiting my mom. She's got an extra
Yeah.
one. I said I could use that.
Yep.
right.
Yep.
She's got an extra one. You're terrible.
I've got enough of a bottle that for me and for Bethany, we can both be 10 hours on the oxygen, and it's the airplane's only got 5 hours of gas, so it's an out and back
So
system.
you're good. Wow. Wow.
That's really cool. That's a great story.
Yeah,
Thank
that is.
Steve, do you do a lot of time doing any major cross countries, or are you a local guy?
Pretty much local, I have to admit, honestly. I mean, I spend a lot of time either, it's growing company, spending a lot of time with a company. I've got a couple of
Hey.
teenagers that take a little bit of time.
Oh, how old?
I have a 15-year-old son and a 14-year-old daughter.
Dun, 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 dun.
Exactly. And in fact, actually, I'm pretty psyched because my son, 15-year-old, came out to Oshkosh to work with me for the first time last summer. He got to
Awesome.
see what Daddy did. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Oh, I want to communicate with her because of my work with Women of Aviation Worldwide.
Oh, cool.
We'll be talking more about that offline.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
But before, I want you, since we had a chance to get off topic and we're bouncing around,
Yeah.
I want you to talk a little bit more about Seattle Avionics, where you see yourself going.
Oh, sure.
I mean,
Okay.
you've done really well.
Thanks.
It's been impressive watching the company. I did, by the way, confess before we talked on air about how confusing all the different options are, and and you've done a good job. Where do you still see yourself going over the next few years?
Sure. Well, I mean, we began 14 years ago or so making a Windows-based product called Voyager. Then when we saw the iPad coming along, of course, we jumped in there. But one of the other things we did, about half of our business is actually selling data. So we sell data to over 20 different companies, to Bendix King, to Aspen Certified Data, to non-certified data, to Dynon, to GRT, to lots and lots of different folks, Advanced Flight Systems, whatever. So we make U.S. data, but we also make European data, and we're expanding that business. So a lot of our business is actually not making iPad stuff directly, but giving the data to other companies. So we'll be expanding that business. The iPad product will continue to get better, I think, dramatically in the next year or so. We've now got the basics down a lot. We did, a bit of a redesign on it in version 2.0 a few months ago, and that, I think, knocked the socks off the usability. So basically expanding both markets, expanding in the iPad and expanding on the data side.
Well, this much I know. I've delved in a couple of other industries over the last decade or so.
Mm-hmm.
And having a number of SKUs, a number of products, having a baseline of product that's supporting two, but not dominant in the product line we're talking about.
Yeah.
It affords a very unique position because a lot of your attention is elsewhere, but it only benefits the foundation of this product that we're talking about.
It really does, and you're right. I mean, I give a lot of talks. I gave a talk the other day on how you combine an iPad with a panel-mounted system with a web-based flight planner. And the second slide or so is like why you should listen to me. And a lot of it really had to do with the fact that we've talked to all the major avionics vendors. We've talked to all the different OEMs who make the aircraft because we sell them data. So we're really pretty familiar. Even before we begin doing some of the integration ourselves, we've talked to what customers and what the pilots and what the end users really need. So we've had a lot of experience talking to a whole lot of folks, even before we designed anything.
Well, obviously, there's a lot of work put into this. It looks great. It's easy to use.
Thank you.
It's gotten a lot of attention over the years, and there's no doubt that we'll be seeing a lot more of you.
Thank you.
It's time for a little break, so I'm going to jump for an interstitial, which is what we call, and then we'll have Jason Miller come in to say hi. David, if you want to stick around, I would love to talk more about your product as well.
I got time.
All right, you guys just hang loose, and we'll be right back.
Welcome to Plane Talk on WIMC Radio. The views and opinions expressed on Plane Talk are of the host, its guests, and callers. They do not necessarily reflect the views of the IMC Club or IMC Club International.
I think I recognize it.
Yeah.
That's right. And certainly know your company's products.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. And the beautiful weather here at Sun and Fun 2016. I got to say that there's no two ways about it. We're finding that the weather today is just phenomenal. We had a guest raptor or two this morning. You out of here, Steve?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want me to stay?
No. Well, if you want to stay, you're more than welcome.
Sure. Otherwise, I have to work in the booth. So sure.
Well,
Absolutely.
you can come, you can go. The nice thing is this open sofa flying, hanger flying concept is what the IMC Club is about.
I like it.
Although, of course,
wanting
to specifically talk about each of your products, this is what we do. The IMC Club will have a scenario that we create. It's very well produced. And we talk about a set of situations in certain conditions. And then we stop the video. You have your experience, aircraft, hardware, and time. And we're all different. And then the discussion starts. And what's wonderful is that people will go, "What are you, crazy?" And somebody go, No, I did the same thing. And then somebody go, "But did you ever?" Yeah. And everybody goes, "Oh, really?" Which is why the club has grown. Because you have now, it's hangar flying with a purpose. So here, in front of me today, Jason Miller, we have, David, I don't want to mispronounce your name. Bunin. And, I am just ridiculous. Steve Podrachik with us today. And experienced aviators, experienced people with technology. And then along comes Jason Miller.
Hi, Howie. How you doing? Jason. I'm happy to be here. This is kind of fun for me because I am, forgive me, but not all that familiar with the IMC Club.
Yeah, not everybody knows about it.
You get a chance to maybe tell me how I can fit in? Or
well, the beautiful thing is now we're part of the EAA program and pilot proficiency concept. So from the IMC or the instrument rated guys, which is what it was created to be, we now have a VMC, or for the VFR guys. So we'll have the same scenario-based hangar flying with a mission concept.
And it's in person, so you actually show up at the
hangar.
hangar.
You got it's like EAA on steroids.
I love it.
And that's really, instead, like I said, instead of sitting around chewing about talking about the fences and the fuel, and when I was a boy, now you get, boy, I came back from New Hampshire last week, and all of a sudden the downdraft took me down 100, 1,000 feet before I could blink.
Right.
Anyway, but it's great to have you on board. But I do want to chat with you more, and I want David first to wrap up your NavWorks pitch.
Okay.
We've touched on it a few times. And Steve, please, if there's anything else that you want to share, jump in.
Sure. Okay, will do.
It's all good.
Okay.
So you have 2 boxes.
2 boxes. So we have the certified box and the experimental box, and they both have internal GPS. The experimental box can only use the internal GPS. The certified box can also interface with a certified GPS if you have in the airplane. If you have a WAS GPS in the airplane, we can take a position from a GNS series unit if it's WAS, a GTN series unit, the older Apollo, the CNX-80. So those can serve as our GPS. If you've got one of those, you don't need to add another GPS antenna. If you don't have one of those, it's much cheaper to add our GPS antenna than it is to upgrade to a WAS unit. Also Avidyne. I should put in a plug for Avidyne. We can use them as a position source as well.
Actually, can I give you a little plug too? Yeah. So the other thing that you guys do to get the transponder stuff, this transponder sniffer thing that you have is Transmon. Thank you.
Transponder
it is
monitor.
Insanely clever. So do you want to talk about that?
He just got
what a lead! What a lead!
I did.
Got a nod from Steve.
I just thought it was incredibly cool.
Scores. So we have everyone's worried about what to do with your transponder. Everyone's like, "Hey, my transponder's working fine. Why do I have to ditch it?" You don't. We have a device called a Transmon. We have a patent on it.
You showed me the little device.
It is, it's about it's like half the size of a deck of cards for people that still play cards. And it just goes around the transponder antenna coax. It's got a little plate and a channel, so you put it over it and you slide the plate down. And it will read the Mode C reply, the Mode A reply. So it will know your squawk code and your Mode C altitude and feed that data into the ADS 600.
I fell in love with your entire team yesterday. I just got a GTX 330 2.5 years ago. There's nothing wrong with this beautiful piece of machinery. Yep. And now the first thing, of course, my radio shop said, "Oh, well, I can give you some trade on that."
Yeah.
We met him.
Yeah. Well, Garmin wants to sell you that ES upgrade, and it's a fine upgrade. But you don't have to do it. It's much cheaper to get our Transmon. And now your existing 330 or 327 or your old Cessna transponder from 1977 can continue service.
Well, you just became a friend of mine.
Let me just make sure I understand this.
Yeah.
Just walking into this conversation, you're telling me that I can meet the ADS-B requirements with a 19 old transponder somehow?
Yes.
Wow. And how much does that little unit cost?
What happens is the Transmon allows your existing transponder to become the control panel for the ADS-B transceiver.
I see.
You still got to install the transceiver.
Okay.
So the transceiver,
and that's what you guys make and sell, the transceiver.
Right. The certified one is $19.99. This is the only one you're going to see out there with a 1 in the first digit.
Yep.
Okay. $19.99. The Transmon, if you need it for your configuration, is $200. It's $199. And depending on if you need a GPS antenna, that's a little bit spendy, but it's still less than upgrading to a WAS GPS in the airplane. And then you're going to need a UAT antenna, unless you're a guy like me who took out a DME. Then you can just repurpose the DME antenna you already had.
Excellent. Wow.
So, and as I recall, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you have a newer transponder that has a digital out, you don't even need that.
Right. If you have a transponder that has a digital interface, it's going to depend on which one. Okay. So you need 2 things. For UAT to work, you need 2 things. You need to know the pressure altitude, and you need to know the squawk code.
Right.
So if you have a transponder, the 327 has an output, but it can only output one of those things.
Okay.
So if you have a 327 and you have a digital altitude encoder, you can wire to the digital altitude encoder for altitude. You can wire to the 327 for squawk code, and you're good to go. But even in that case, it might be cheaper to buy the Transmon because it's so easy to install. You save money on the installation.
Right.
So we've had customers that have
Tiny.
the digital. Yeah. It's a little.
It looks kind of like a USB stick.
Like a half inch by 2 inches.
Right, it's a little bigger than a USB memory stick.
Wow. That's great.
So, Jay, glad you came by.
Yeah, no, I am learning things already.
So we're in the booth. We're at A29 if you want to come see us in A hangar.
Now, we are live over the web around the world, so for those of you in
we're
Yugoslavia
at Sun
that
and
want to
Fun
come by.
2016.
Yeah, quick.
Lakeland,
Hop
Florida.
a boat.
Yep.
So yeah, come on over, and or you can see us online. We're at navworks.com if you're all around the world.
That's what I want to hear.
We're doing the certified. If you go full boat, if you need the GPS antenna, you need the transmon, you need the UAT antenna, you need all these options. Even if you try, you can't get above about $2,800 on the equipment.
Well, for me and many of the people that I have been talking with who, the reality is there are certain levels of aviators. And on the level of the sport aviator who really wants in, who really can't afford the gold-plated everything, and are in this obligation to come on board by 2020, you've given me a sigh of relief. There is a very doable option.
We have our STC. We're a certified solution. We have an approved model list. It includes just about every popular airplane you can think of. We had a guy with a Piper Tri-Pacer that came by and said, I bet I'm not on your list. He was on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And honestly, I think part of the thing, too, you were talking about the certified system. The EXP system probably appeals to a lot of the people here at Sun and Fun, and that's even less expensive.
Right. $12.99 for the experimental product. Now, the experimental product, it can't make use of an external GPS because it uses its own. So you're going to need an antenna. But the experimental guys can get by with the antenna that you just dump up on the glare shield. And that's only $60.
Oh, so you got an ATC for people in Florida? For all the guys who live in Florida?
For the Again.
Which is really interesting, by the way. I went up and adjust this morning. And I'm going to tell you, when I was a kid and I was making model airplanes, I remember a Stork. I made a Stork. And the thing I loved about the Stork, it had these really weird forward flaps, which would just drop down and drop up. And so I started putting these little forward slats on my other models. I never got them to work.
Yeah, the aerodynamic balance is hard to do.
Oh, it ruined. Yeah. I mean, I had the handheld.
Ask North American about that.
Yeah.
But I went up on that thing, and what was phenomenal, it has a 180 horsepower engine in it. I just want to talk at the term "hang on the prop." It's sort of like it's like an elevator on a chain. And really phenomenally stable. Just want to give the Just guys a little nod where it deserves to be. But really appreciate it. Steve Prajachik, really appreciate the time that you've taken.
That was a lot of fun. I actually really enjoyed this. So thank you.
Well, I'm going to stop by and just say hi over in your booth.
Okay. C22.
And we'll be talking to you. Where is it?
C22, Hangar C, number 22, right at the entrance.
And where can we find you on the web?
We are at SeattleAvionics.com.
SeattleAvionics.com.
Yep.
All right, Steve. I'm going to let you go.
Thank you, Howie.
Pleasure's all mine. You can just put the mic right there. Take one of these lovely parting gifts. But Dave, hold on for a second, and then we'll have you move on as well. But the beautiful thing about this gathering, there are these two major events of the year. Now, there are the minor ones, and some of them are getting rather big. Have you ever been to Texas?
Oh, yeah. I was just there at the...
Talk about it for a second.
Well, I was just down there. I was visiting 4 flights in Houston. I went and checked out the Mod Aero conference that was down there. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No. John, do me a favor. Would you sit in that chair?
Yeah.
Mod Aero?
Yeah, Mod Aero was like they're trying to do a little air show kind of thing targeted at youth, at younger people.
Oh, awesome.
It was kind of cool. It was. I thought the effort, quite honestly, was very, very good. I personally would like to see that effort exist at a show like Sun and Fun. You know, like have them bring that tent here, like a Mod Aero tent or something.
Okay, after the show, I want to talk to you about it a little more in depth.
Yeah.
I'm putting on a show at Martha's Vineyard 2017.
Are you really?
Yeah, and it's going to be not an air show.
Okay.
Just like Steve's. Matter of fact, Steve and I talked long and hard, Steve Force, about what he's doing, how he's doing it, and I want to be able to see if I can replicate it.
And you mean with his aerobatic?
Yeah, the not an air show thing he does in Michigan.
Exactly.
So I don't know. We'll see. Right
I
now,
love it.
A lot of change in my airport, a lot of management changes.
I need an excuse to go to the island. I've never been.
Dude.
So I want to come.
Dude.
Let me know.
Dude. You're going to be my wingman.
Yeah, that sounds great.
I need a wingman. But
why do you ask about Texas?
Not Texas in particular, about other regional air shows which have grown in popularity. Sun and Fun, of course, being spring break for aviators, it seems to be the switch to begin to get active again after a long, hard winter.
Right.
Sebring has attempted to do that, The timing's been awkward. That time of year in that part of Florida hasn't led itself to good weather.
Yeah.
And it's been very problematic.
Yeah.
There's a new effort being started in DeLand, Florida.
Yeah.
So they're going to be doing something in DeLand at a different time of the year, and we'll get a chance to talk to that later in the year. My interest in growing aviation is bringing youngsters to aerospace STEM prop. I call it STEAM because I do throw the arts in there. We're musicians as well, and there is certainly a unique people with the kind of capabilities musically lends itself to aviation. But before you talk, David, do you play anything?
I'm sorry?
Do you play any music?
I play a radio.
Oh, okay. Well, not everybody, but I thought I'd take a stab.
I did when I was younger.
John's a professional musician. I was a professional
That's so
musician.
interesting because I was down here, I think it was last year, I was down here and I was interviewing the Blue Angels and I was talking to the guy that flew the Fat Albert, the Hercules pilot.
Yeah.
Right. Sure enough, we're both from Chicago, and the second thing he says is, I said, so how did you get into this? How did you find your way to the Blue Angels? He said, you wouldn't believe it because I was a music major in college.
Really?
Isn't that amazing? So, I mean, I was listening to you talk, I was like, really?
It's not amazing. I came on board with John Zapp to help him years ago and doing Sebring and getting that going, all because of this phenomenal thing. I would get together with people, and they're like, where are the guitars? What do you mean? We're all musicians. We're all pilots. Like, that's too cool. And here's yet another platform, not related to aviation, that we love being around each other.
There's an organization, isn't there? There's an organization, pilot musicians over here.
Flying Musicians Association.
Okay, thank you very much.
John Roberts from Florida, IMC Club, EAA IMC. You know, I showed this guy a camera. He couldn't believe.
I never saw the
He had never seen one of these before. He goes, "What is this? What is this?"
Yeah, I know.
This is the original hero.
Yeah.
Because he'd never seen one before.
I hadn't seen one. Yeah, I know.
All right.
He'll never let me forget it.
I guess.
They've made the rounds.
Wait, we just have NavWorks guy, and then we have all this new technology.
Oh, I must say, I love the gauges. I love steam gauges. Let me tell you something about. You were talking about
Apple came up with something called an iPhone.
Yeah, no, I know that's true. But you were saying about you love to see kids get into aviation. I took my 7-year-old nephew to like a little museum for kids, and they had a little simulator, for kids. And I'll go in there with you because I bought him an airplane piggy bank, and I'm really trying to go, push him in that direction. And we get into the simulator, and his little toy thing is the G1000. It's like the two screens. It's like no gauges. It's like
they don't make them anymore.
They may never. They'll look at a Cessna 172, regular gauges, and a P-50 Mustang is the same thing.
They won't know what to do with it.
I can't believe that actually they're showing the little kids because that's where it's going. I know that. I know
that. We got 7 minutes. 7 minutes of the
that.
live show, and I want to just ask Jason what you're up to and what we should be watching. You've been doing podcasts for a long time.
Yeah, long time. That's kind of where I started, and you were talking about iPhones.
By the way, he's 4'3", very long, shaggy gray hair. Yeah, he's lost most of his teeth. He's been around a long time.
That's right. Yeah, I'm an old man.
Yes,
now.
he's old.
Someone told me I'm 42. It's over. But no, yeah, I started the Finer Points in 2005. Was real early in podcasting, and I'm a CFI in California, San Francisco Bay Area. So we get, by the way, what I think is some of the best IMC in the country. We get that fog, that marine layer, right?
Oh wow!
So we get tons. So I really specialize in instrument training. That's my focus.
Flying over Mount Tam, baby.
Yeah, and the Finer Points is a very short format, instructional tips. Comes out every week. We've got over 300 some odd episodes up there now.
I started listening to you along with the Uncontrolled Airspace guys back in the way back.
Recap, right?
And the first thing that caught me is you play your own damn mandolin.
I do, yeah. My first career was as a musician. So
wow, good for you.
So flying is my fallback, which is really funny because when I got into flying, people said, "Oh, if you're going to get into flying, you better have a fallback." I was like, wait a minute, this is my fallback. Am I hosed?
My dad said the same thing. I started playing piano.
You better have a fallback. Okay, that's flying. Right?
I will say, there was a time I played piano and trombone.
There you go.
At the same
time.
That's impressive.
Not at the same time. Yeah, I played the piano with my toes. It was
got
great.
opposable thumbs
awesome.
Down there.
Yeah.
Case in point.
Yeah.
Right.
Give me some love. Absolutely. Really.
But I did want to mention that it's been really exciting, this Sun and Fun, this show, because we are announcing a partnership with Sporties. So the Finer Points podcast and a lot of instrument training tips. Like I just did one for them on LPV approaches and whatnot, and they've got this new idea for a proficiency app. And we're working with those guys.
So do you probably get your students to do some actual before?
Oh my God, so
that's
much
great,
actual.
Most people don't do much.
We sometimes do entire lessons. So here's an average day in the summer. Now climate change is changing this. I would have years ago put $100 on the table and said I can tell you what the weather's going to be like in July. Not so much anymore. But a typical day in July is a 400 foot bases, 2.5 miles visibility, 0 wind, calm. Temperature 55 degrees, so no ice or whatever. Tops at 4,000. MEA's at 5. So you depart through your departure procedure. The whole departure procedure is IMC. You break out on top at 4,000. You get up at cruising altitude. You might as well be at 30,000 feet. You're right on top of a flat stratus layer.
You're VFR above.
Yeah, still on an IFR flight plan, but yeah, you are over the top at that point. And then, flying approaches down into IMC over and over and over again. I tell people honestly that, we run a mountain flying trip every June, and it goes great. But I tell people, you should contact us and come out for a flying vacation. If you want IMC, come out, spend 4 or 5 days in the Bay Area. We'll go up every morning. We'll be like a cargo pilot. We'll get out there at 5:30 in the morning. And we will really practice flying in the clouds and partial panel in the clouds. The whole
and it's nice having the calm. The students.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah,
and it's nice having a calm wind along with that.
Oh,
it's
perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not. It's
so
at some level I feel like I'm cheating. Because, other folks are like, great, I go out and I fly real IFR. There's real turbulence, there's real wind.
Half my family live in the Bay Area.
Oh.
I promise you.
Come see me,
I promise
Howie.
you, this early fall, I promise you that
now,
we're going to spend some
by the way,
serious time.
just everyone be advised, the summer is the season, or the winter, where we get a little bit harder IMC. Spring and fall, severe clear, 90 degrees, hot temperatures. As the seasons change in the Bay Area, it's hot and clear. So if you are planning some sort of IMC adventure in California, Northern California, midsummer for the light IFR, and the wintertime for relatively, I quote this, hard IFR. But, real storms that come through.
Well, we'll find what we find when we find it.
That's fantastic.
I'm coming for a party, a family party. So
well, you can find us at learnthefinerpoints.com if you want to check it out or take a visit.
What's the website again?
It's learnthefinerpoints.com.
One word?
It's all one word.
Oh, that's great.
Learnthefinerpoints.com.
Great name. Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow.
Well, before we go any further, David, we only have about 3 minutes left. But the cool thing is you came by to spend some time, hangar flying with us. And the fact that you've come out with a solution which is within my grasp, personally, is a huge sigh of relief. Because I have far too many things on my punch list. And with your help, I think I'm going to be doing just fine.
Yeah, well, David, I'll never forget you. 17.5 and a 172. I'll never forget that.
It's on FlightAware. You can look it up. I know I said my tail number somewhere in the podcast. But, so my wife is a customer support specialist. She's the one you call the 800 number. You get the lovely Miss Bethany. And people say to her, it's like, why aren't you advertising? And she says, word of mouth is our advertising. And the people that have the product rave about it, and all their buddies call in to get one.
Well, you can't do better than that.
That's the best advertising there is?
You can't do better than that. This is a tiny community. I used to be in the motorcycle racing industry, and it was amazing. Tiny, tiny groups of people that would just go to these select tracks around the country. And, God forbid anything happened, we all knew. But we also learned about innovations. And the great thing is here in this community, we've had different strata. The warbirds, the high-end, the ultra-fast, and then the ultra-lights. And in between are the rest of us, humans. So the nice thing is that, events like this exist. Hopefully these regionals, and I will talk with you, Jason. I want you to stick around for a few minutes after the show so we can talk about the activities for kids. The high school here, the Institute, the Aeronautical Institute of Florida is... I'm not saying it properly.
I thought it was called the Central Florida Aviation Academy.
It is.
But I Googled that this morning and I didn't find it. So is that what it is?
Central Florida Aviation Academy.
Central Florida Aviation Academy. David, thank you very much. And Zinn, I'm sorry. And, I just messed that up.
And I'm
John.
glad to say I haven't seen a drone here at Sun and Fun yet.
Oh, I have.
There's one of the trader plane booths.
Wait. There's a booth.
There's trader plane booths. Got it, yeah.
There's a booth.
But I haven't been walking down the sidewalk.
Right, not following you through the air show.
I think it's illegal at airports.
Right.
Yeah, I hope so.
I
hope so.
Right.
No,
you following him around the air shows.
Following around the air shows.
I got me a slingshot here, buddy.
Yeah.
There you go.
Nice.
Oh,
I like
baby,
it.
let me tell you, I don't want nothing
Well,
to do with
that's a whole nother show.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, hey, we have 2 minutes to go, and I want to tell my friends of the RC guys who flew out of that airport right in front of 2-4 on Martha's Vineyard. For people who've come into Martha's Vineyard, they're making the approach over the sand pit to 2-4, and all of a sudden there's another airport below them. This was a full-scale RC airport, and now with the TFRs for RC, they can't use it. All except way up on the western end of the island. You can only fly RC out there. And my neighbor, Joe, has 6-foot RC aircraft.
Wow.
So my heart goes out to you,
So from
Joe.
a distance, it could be like, wait a minute, is that a plane 6 miles out? Or?
Oh, please. It is.
Those are big,
Yeah,
too.
I don't
Some
know
of
if
those.
you guys know about, you probably do, but the president goes to the Vineyard every summer.
Does he?
Every summer they go there, and the TFR,
It's
you
been
can't
since
fly
Clinton,
anywhere.
and
Shuts
then
down
for 2
5
weeks,
airports.
we're dead men, and we got to just sit it down.
The poor instructors, they can't teach. Nobody's
I
talking.
talked to a bunch of RC guys one time, and I told them that I had a 172, and they said, "Oh, what scale?" I said, "Full."
Well, on behalf
And
of
I
the,
actually get to ride in it.
on behalf of the EAA IMC Golden Microphone Network of whatever I'm trying to say, Howie Marland, we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Thank you, Howie.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Are
Howard.
very welcome. Have a good day, you guys. We'll see you later.
Fly safe.
You guys come up there one day. You'd enjoy it. You'd enjoy the show. Quarter land, 3-3 right. Thank you very much.